Hey everybody, welcome to week 9 of our English 1020 course online. I am really excited about this next project. Project 3 is maybe my absolute favorite project that we do in this whole semester. And if you'll notice, if you were savvy when you read through the syllabus, Project 3 is actually broken down into 2 parts. There's Project 3A and Project 3B. Now, the coolest thing about this project, in my opinion, is that we are doing research, which I love, which is probably a good thing considering I'm an academic. But we're going to be looking at research in a couple of different ways. Project 3A is going to focus on making a researched argument in a very traditional scholarly way. This will be the most traditional, what we might think of as a research paper. But if you've done a research paper before, I hope that you learn some sophisticated moves from this project, because what we're aiming for here is not just a research paper, but in fact, a piece of research scholarship that you could, if you wanted to, submit for publication. So we're trying to up the ante a little bit and write not your grandma's research paper, okay? Project 3B, on the other hand, is going to focus on translating that researched argument into a visual that's really well suited for a more popular audience. So that's where we're headed over the next 5 weeks, and I'm going to take you into our Blackboard site and talk you through what we're doing this week. So the first thing I want to do is take a minute to quickly go over the project assignment description for Project 3A. If we look here in our Project 3A folder, you can see that we are starting our researched argument essay. And we're going to be using the argument types that have been outlined in our reading. So the argument of fact, the argument of value, and the argument of policy. The objective for this paper is to present the findings from your research in an academic argument, and you want to be focusing on writing in a very scholarly tone and style. Now, we often call this academic discourse, or that's just another way of saying joining the conversation that you see happening between other scholars. The mini lesson this week will go into further detail there. But at the end of this project, your goal, your main goal, is to have composed a paper that is appropriate for submission to a real-life academic forum, such as the undergraduate research journals that are out there, or even the Rushton Conference that we hold here at Wayne State. So this is very different from Project 2. Project 2 was a narrative of how you found your sources, and you did summarize them. But this is a totally different animal. You might be able to use some things from your source summaries from Project 2, but there will be very little that you can copy and paste from Project 2 because the tone and the style need to be much more formal and academic here. The good thing is that you're still practicing the same research strategies that you developed in Project 2. And if you're smart, you'll be using the same general topic or research question. Maybe it's changed or evolved. Maybe you found an initial answer in Project 2 that you can further pursue or look at a new part of in Project 3. But you already found 3 sources in Project 2. And it's my intention that you use them in Project 3. Now, it's key to note that while you're learning about the conversation surrounding your topic, you're going to need to add at least 4 new sources to your works cited list. Now, you can shoot for 2 scholarly and 2 popular, But many of you, through the research that you did in Project 2, realized that maybe your topic only needs scholarly sources, or maybe only popular sources are appropriate. Either way, you just need to add 4 more tried and true, evaluated, very carefully vetted sources. You need to make a claim in this paper, and it needs to be based on the argument types that we read about in our textbook. You need to think about the evidence that you're going to use to support your claim. That evidence is going to come from your sources. You're targeting an academic audience here. So again, looking at the sample papers that are in the Week 9 folder will really help you have an idea of what kind of tone you're trying to hit. And you want to, if at all possible, continue along the research trajectory that you started in Project 2. This will just make it so much easier. You need a total of 7 sources for this research project, and you already found 3 in Project 2. Now, if you want to throw it out and start all over again, that's totally fine. But just remember, you'll need to find an extra 3 sources. At the end of the day, you'll put together a 2,000 to 2,000 to 2,500 word research argument essay, plus your works cited, and you'll need to write a reflection letter that you will also upload with this final paper. All right, now there's more stuff to get into with the learning outcomes that we're focusing on here and the rubric, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, that should be a good overview of the Project 3A. All right, so here we are in our course materials folder. And in a very exciting turn of events, we're going to click on Project 3A. And we'll click on Week 9 Activities folder. And so here you can see the things that we'll be doing this week. You'll need to watch this instructor video like you're doing right now. Kasim has a peer mentor video that's coming down the pipe for you guys. I've created a mini lesson about how to create a conversation in your research papers between your sources, and of course the little vid at the end of the week. You'll read at least one, if not more, sample research papers from the folder below. Right here. There's a whole folder of sample research papers. These papers, they're kind of hard to read, sorry about that. But each one of them, when you open them, they open just fine. And these are all research papers that have been published in undergraduate journals. And they've been written by undergraduate students, just like you. So these sample papers will give us an idea of what we're shooting for when Project 3 asks for a paper, an argument written in academic discourse that could be published. We want to look at these samples as models for the level of writing that we're shooting for. One other thing as I open back up this folder, when you're looking at the sample papers, keep in mind that they're not all written in MLA style. So the citations are going to look different for each different paper. All right, so we talked about sample papers. Definitely you're going to be still finding and evaluating sources. One of the things that Project 3A asks for is 4 new sources. in addition to the 3 sources that you've already gleaned from Project 2. And you'll write some little blogs to help you keep track of your research. You'll create part 1 of an annotated bibliography. And if you're not sure what an annotated bibliography is, the OWL at Purdue has a great example here. An annotated bibliography is a bibliography first, so you'll have your works cited entry from each source. And then underneath it, annotations. So this is often a summary of the source along with your take on it, how it will fit potentially or not fit into your research project. An annotated bibliography is an excellent tool to keep track of sources. You'll also be creating a claim and a conversation map. So what you want to do here with this claim is you want to take your research question and transform it into an argumentative claim. So here's what our week should shake down like. Wednesday, shoot to watch your videos from me and Kasim. Look at least 1 sample paper from the folder below, if not more. And start your research journal for blog number 9. Friday, take a look at the mini lesson I've created and keep finding and evaluating potential source articles. It's a good idea for Friday to aim to finish blog number 10, which is your first 2 entries for your annotated bibliography. So once again, that's the works cited entry and a brief summary, 1 or 2 paragraphs for each new source you find. Then Sunday, watch your little vid, keep finding and evaluating potential source articles, and by Sunday, you will want to have transformed your research question into an argumentative claim. So you need to make sure that you're no longer asking a question, but now you're making an argument, and it needs to be one of the argument types that we've already learned about. You need to be making an argument of policy, an argument of fact, or an argument of value in this paper. You'll also want to map out the conversation so far. And if you're not sure what that might look like, the mini lesson about mapping the conversation should help. Last but not least, we'll take a moment in Reflection Journal 8 to think forward to our portfolio. And anything that you want to put in that portfolio from Project 2 should be uploaded to that OneDrive folder at this time. Okay, I think that ought to do it for now. There's a lot of stuff to think about and to be reading about this week. But please feel free to email me if you have any questions, particularly about as we transition our research questions into a claim. I would really encourage you to shoot Kasim an email, especially about the question into a claim. Maybe even just write your question, translate it into a claim, and shoot Kasim an email to say, hey, what do you think about this as an argumentative claim? Wink, wink. Other than that, please feel free to email either of us if you guys have questions this week, and happy researching.